So in total, I had 2 appointments with a urologist, 4 appointments with an endocrinologist, I had an echography, I had an MRI, and about 7 different blood tests, including 4 on the same freaking... What's up folks, it's Uranus, we're in Brussels, welcome to another video. So I've been on HRT or hormonal replacement therapy for more than 10 years. You have to replace what your body can't produce, right? At 25 years old, I had the testosterone levels of an 85-year-old woman. That shit ain't right. And today I want to talk to you about how I started my hormonal replacement therapy journey. What are the steps that I took? Which doctors did I see? How long did it take? And how did I manage? Every week I'm receiving questions from people that believe that they have low testosterone or other hormonal related issue and they simply do not know what to do. Now I want to tell you guys how it started for me, a 25-year-old kid that still needed to hit puberty. Alright, c'est parti. My brain took a hit at birth, and the part that is responsible for a lot of hormones in my body simply is AFK, and it doesn't work properly or it doesn't work at all. So I was almost 26, I had never had a proper erection in my life, and I hadn't developed into a man yet. I had 0 secondary sexual characteristics yet. I was shy as fuck, and nobody had ever seen me naked in like 15 years or something like that. Now, to make a long story short, I went out with my best female friend for just about 2 weeks. It ended badly, and when she learned about my health issues, she ditched me. And that was the final straw, the final blow, and that's how it started. I had to take matters into my own hand and do something about it. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, or when I was growing up, or a young adult, or 20 years old, nobody ever told me, bro, I think you might have a problem with your testosterone levels. You need to get yourself the fuck checked out because I think your testosterone levels are dead. I didn't even know what testosterone was. But when I got ditched, I was one of the lowest points in my life, and I was gonna do something about it or end up dead. So I picked up the phone and I started dialing. So I called a urologist in a local hospital close to my work. That's the very first person that I called to help me with my health issues. Before that, at that period, I didn't even know endocrinologists existed and that endocrinologists were a thing. So I basically called a urologist. I called on a Monday and I was already going to have my appointment on Wednesday. On Wednesday, a man was going to touch my genitals with latex gloves. Of course, I was a bit terrified of that. I was really shy and I never wanted anybody to take a look at my body. I was quite ashamed of myself, and I remember sitting in my car before the appointment in the parking of the hospital and thinking, no, I'm not going to go there. It took a lot of courage to step out of my car and finally go into that office. I'm really glad I did, otherwise this YouTube channel would simply not exist. I was probably shaking a bit too when I entered his office for the first time, but it was a very reassuring person. So first we talked a little bit and I told him about my concerns, about the lack of facial hair, the lack of body hair, the lack of libido, the lack of maturation, and especially the lack of growth down there. Then he examined me on a table and he confirmed the complete lack of pubertal development. It wasn't the most pleasurable experience because I was so fucking scared, but then in the end it was a very reassuring guy. He was very supportive, and I was scared for years, basically for nothing, because the appointment went well and doctors are usually there to freaking help you. Now, side note, it's quite funny because 10 years later I'm still seeing the same urologist from time to time, and we always have a good laugh about the past and we always share good stories. I mean, last time I was in his office we were talking about our favorite sexual positions, so definitely I was scared for nothing before going there. So back to my first appointment, he looked at my testicles and then he ordered some blood work because he wanted to see how my testosterone levels were. Now, he told me something very positive and reassuring. He told me that if pubertal development had never started, it would still theoretically be possible to still have full sexual maturation and puberty after that. Now that reassured me, so he sent me downstairs to the lab to give some blood work, and then he gave me a second appointment, a follow-up appointment to look at those results. Now, urologists generally are not specialized in hormones, so the only test that he had asked that was basically relevant were my total testosterone levels, and they were the lowest that he had ever seen for my age. So he transferred me to another doctor, an endocrinologist, in that same clinic. Now, since the referral came from two doctors basically in the same clinic, I only had to wait a freaking week between the appointment with the uro and the appointment with the endocrinologist. Now, these days I'm going private and it's pretty much crazy. Sometimes you have to wait up to 6 months before you have an appointment with an endocrinologist. There I had to wait 1 week. The endocrinologist I saw for the first time asked me a lot of questions regarding possible drug usage and so on to find the cause of my extremely low testosterone levels. He then ordered some blood work that was much more extensive and comprehensive. He ordered like LH, FSH, the total testosterone again, but also free testosterone, SHBG, estrogen, and all relevant markers. He also ordered an MRI with a contrast product to see how my pituitary gland was doing. Once a potential tumor was ruled out, I also spent half a day in the hospital. They injected me with some product. Basically, they did an LH-RH test to see how my pituitary gland would react. So I spent half a day there and they took lots and lots of blood. I was also ordered an echography for my testicles, and that was a bit tough for me, you know, for a guy that had basically never shown himself naked to anybody else in more than 15 years. Now I was showing my balls on a table somewhere every single week, but I had to get through it. So in total I had 2 appointments with a urologist, 4 appointments with an endocrinologist, I had an echography, I had an MRI, and about 7 different blood tests, including 4 on the same freaking day. Then I got prescribed 250 milligrams of testosterone every 3 weeks. I was told this is the treatment for low testosterone in Belgium. Now at that time I was already reading and studying a lot about hormonal replacement therapy and about TRT, and I knew that that specific endocrinologist didn't know a lot about testosterone replacement therapy. To his defense, he's really specialized in diabetes and he knows everything about sugar diseases, but mostly endocrinologists in Belgium don't know very much about how to prescribe TRT to a patient, especially one that still needs to go through freaking puberty. Besides, 250 milligrams every 3 weeks is a really shitty protocol. So I had my first shot, and after that first 3 weeks I was like, okay, I'm still gonna get a second opinion somewhere else, and I went to this big university hospital in Belgium, and there I almost had to start from scratch again, and yet again my balls were on the table. Yet again they ended up putting me on HCG monotherapy, and I was set for the first 2.5 years of my hormonal transformation. I was finally starting puberty through medically induced puberty through the usage of hormones. All of this sounds complicated and a lot, right? And back then it was. You also have to take into consideration that I didn't have any support circle or anybody actually knowing what I was doing. I decided I was going to do this on my own. So I didn't tell anybody where I was going or what I was doing on the blood tests and the days in the hospital, the potential treatments, my health issues. I kept it all for myself. The gym was my support already back then. I was also watching a lot of motivational videos. Now I have to tell you guys, I had a panic attack before every single one of my appointments to every single doctor that I saw. I was in my car and I had panic attacks every single time. And even 10 years later, if I'm going to the doctor, don't talk to me that same day. It just is like that. But I am so happy that I did this shit for myself, by myself. I lost many years of my life because I was scared of doing shit, and it cost me a lot of years. And I want you guys to not do the same thing for yourself. If you feel like you have a problem, hormonal related or anything else, go to a doctor and get some blood work done. Go to an endocrinologist and get tested. If you think you have an issue, don't wait. What's the worst that can happen? It comes back positive, and then you know you can do something else. It's not hormonal related. But if you think you have a problem, the least you can do for yourself is go for a freaking blood work. Now, in the description of this video, I will put the link to our wiki on Reddit that contains a shitload of information regarding low testosterone and all relevant blood markers that you can ask for. I wish I had this information when I was dealing with my hormonal journey back in the days when I started. I really wish that I had that information. And also, don't necessarily make the same mistakes as me. Go to an endocrinologist and don't go to a urologist first, because endocrinologists are more specialized in hormones, and usually, well, urologists only deal with dick problems. But that's how I started, because I didn't know that endocrinologists were a thing. So now you know how it all started. Yeah, there were a lot of medical stuff, tests, and a lot of bills involved too. Anyway, that was it. Ending it here. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments. Let me know if you also went through this kind of transformation, or how you're dealing with your doctors and so on. Kindly do the YouTube things, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and I will catch you on the next one. Uranus out.